The following is an interview with Caleb Pierce, barista and videographer turned coffee shop owner. In this interview, we talk about his journey from working at a coffee shop as a barista, getting into videography and creating a business around video production and video editing, and then taking that full circle and becoming now a business owner of a local coffee shop. Enjoy. So as a creator, often the distance between success and failure is the business side of things, right? You could be an amazing artist, but taking your art to the next level, taking your business to the next level is the business skill of things. So we're sitting here in Maker Coffee in Pensacola, Florida. When I first met you, you were working at a coffee shop locally. So what is the distance? What is the connection that allowed you to go from working at a coffee shop to now owning this coffee shop?
Yeah, I'd say when we met, I was working at a coffee shop, and that was like college years and trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life. Yeah. At least for me, I went to school, was just getting a general at like a little junior college at the time, and had no direction of what I wanted to do. But I needed just like part-time work. I just kind of fell into a coffee place. I was actually applied at Starbucks and a local grocery store and this other place, Drowsy Poet, I just knew somebody that worked there. It's the only reason I even applied. And so I got the job at Drowsy, just decided this will be fun, And I was doing school, and I just one day realized there was no photos of me for some reason between the ages of 8 and 16 or 8 and 18,
Okay.
And that's how I got into photo. Strangely, it sounds a little sad, It's just it's just kind of part of it. I mean, this is pre-iPhone. It's your parents don't just take photos all the time. It's kind of pricey. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I remember when I was young, I was shooting through 35 millimeter rolls. My mom told me to slow down.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't grow up in that type of environment necessarily, and but I just kind of was I'm gonna buy a camera, and I had some buddies that were shooting film and just kind of having fun with it, and so I bought a used camera and just decided to kind of start shooting stuff with friends, documenting life a little bit.
Yeah.
Nothing even crazy. It was just kind of something fun to do. And so anyway, that was my intro to photo. And then I was working at the coffee shop, going to school, decided to heard about a photo class I could take at the state college or the junior college. And so decided to do that, fell in love with it instantly. And then my academics got better because I found something I wanted to do. It was okay, I'm going to school with a purpose. So I want to finish this program. So I need to do better in math, need to do better in earth science, which, it was just a totally different ball game from where I grew up, school wise too. But I just didn't care. I had no drive before I started doing photo.
So the work actually ignited the passion for the life, not you just had this random passion that you wanted to pursue. You found work, and that motivated the other work in your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so it definitely was different, but I don't know. It's so looking back now, it's you just feel so young, and it's wasted opportunity, potentially, because you're I could have been crushing it from an early on age if I would just had somebody help me hone in on something.
So what would you say to yourself looking back? You find that thing that you're interested in. What's missing in those younger years that would actually have created more success for you?
I'd say being okay with systems and having finding a niche that's profitable to where it would allow you to do the fun stuff. You know what I mean? Because I feel as young creatives, you're I just want to do what's ever fun and which is kind of needed in the world. You need people that think outside the box, because it's people that are in the corporate type structure, they're well, we have to make X, Y, and Z so you can do A through whatever,
Yeah.
In the creative side, it's usually kind of rebellious, and it's I just want to do what I want to do. I don't want direction. I don't want people to tell me hinder my thoughts and my creativity. And so that's good, but it's just being okay with being disciplined, and I think that would probably be the big thing. It's just being a disciplined type person, but that's a long journey. That starts at childhood, you know what I mean? Just trying to be good at that. And it's that's one thing you're good at. I feel it's you're a very disciplined person, and that's part of the creative journey is gleaning from others of hey, Ben's a disciplined person, and I appreciate that. What do I what am I like jealous of or admire in like someone else's life, and then like gravitating, taking the good and the bad from that too.
Yeah.
Like your lifestyle doesn't fit mine. Like
Yeah.
your like regimen of like the way you do things. Like you wake up like super super early. I own a coffee shop. I don't wake up as early. You know what I mean? It's it just doesn't, so just trying to figure all that out. But I started to love the feeling of like this motivated me to do better. It wasn't just like, let's just, do good in school for the sake of doing good in school.
Because that's so like not the normal thing in life, just to feel like, oh, I want to do good for the sake of it.
Yeah.
There was often something burning below, and that's what you found.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just like I felt like I had like something to like work towards, Yeah. And it wasn't like this super thing like, oh, I've been like longing for this type thing. Like life's just a very big journey, you know what I mean? So it's like I don't like look back. When I was even saying like, I wish I would have like done this. It's not like I have regret. It's like everything I've done's led up to this point. It's just been like I don't know, like I'm grateful for like the way things like played out.
Yeah.
Like the timing is just like, we'll get to that, but it's like the timing's just been like crazy, but yeah, like it was cool because I started doing photo. I was doing photo in school. There was no like video wasn't really like this big thing like it is now. It's like I'm not that old, but it was like not that long ago. So
true.
I bought a 5D Mark II. So if anybody knows that.
That was my first big camera.
I know.
Yeah.
And so I got that on a credit card at Best Buy because they had 18 months no interest. That's probably like a number one tip for creatives. They're going to be like, if they're disciplined enough, use that Best Buy 18 months no interest, because it's like the best way to get like a good piece of equipment. You pay it off pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I paid it off and all that stuff. But I shot a video in my last semester in photo school for like a project, and just like presented that as like, I don't know. I mean, video's a bunch of photos anyway, so it was allowed. And my professor, he was like, you need to like pursue this. Cause like nobody was like, it's not like I pioneered it in the area, but it was like when DSLRs like really came on, the 5D Mark II specifically. And it was just kind of like, hey, you should pursue this and see what comes of it.
Yeah.
So I did, and like started shooting random little videos of like friends, and shot a wedding, and then like that was a whole other journey. It was like, whoa, you can get paid to like shoot a wedding. This is like,
I feel like that's like the gateway for a lot of videographers. It's like weddings.
It's hard.
How did you not get? Just forgive me if you're watching this and you do shoot weddings and you love it, but how did you not quote unquote get stuck in weddings? Because I know that wasn't a goal of yours.
Yeah, I feel like I was partially stuck into it because I was financially dependent on it.
Okay, but was that a good thing to be financially dependent on it? Because did it allow you to do something else?
It wasn't what I loved, so it wasn't a good thing that I was financially dependent on it. Like I didn't like wake up and be like, can't wait to shoot another one. You know what I mean? Like I loved like actually shooting it, but the editing part, which I feel like is like the big thing with most people in that realm, the editing like bogs you down like so quick.
Yeah.
It's just so daunting, It's like having to come up with this. There's no like plan really like going in. The game's like changed now. It's more like formulaic, I feel like.
Good point.
So it's a little bit better. Like I feel like people are creating like good businesses, but it's because like when I was like starting out, and like a lot of others, like we were just kind of like figuring it out. Like nobody really knew like what to do. You know what I mean? Like YouTube was around, but it wasn't like what it is now for sure. And like Vimeo was like the art thing, and now it's still kind of is, like the purists are on Vimeo because like the way it plays back and stuff. But there's so many like nuances to it. But yeah, like it wasn't bad necessarily that I was like dependent on it. Like the cool thing about video, I would say like the creative journey is just realizing like it's one step to like the next thing. And I kind of am glad that I wasn't like, I never like had a path where it was like, this decision is going to determine the rest of my life, because like what I had to do. Because like some people go to medical school, they're going to be a doctor for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, not always, like some of them are really successful and they realize like they have an entrepreneurial like spirit about them, and they're like starting other things. And so practice actually becomes like maybe 20% of their income at a certain point, which is cool. Some people want to like practice medicine long term, but I meet a lot of people that are like in like corporate type jobs or like something like they went to school for that just feel stuck. And they're like, man, I wish I could like do what you're doing, or like I have an idea, like I wanted to do like donuts, or I want to do like some kind of like small shop kind of thing, you know, but it's just like too risky.
So how would you say you lower that risk? How did you lower that risk? I mean, right? Because you weren't just given the shop, you weren't just given each opportunity you had. So what does it take to lower the risk to pursue your dream?
Yeah, I'd say it's like the lifestyle you want to live. Like some people, like the lifestyle is like, I want a nice house, I want like a decent car that I don't like, maybe that I could either buy outright or you know, isn't that much, or you know, like they have like certain things, like they want to live comfortably.
Yeah.
I feel like my position has always been, I'm not saying this is like best for everyone, it's just like how it's unfolded for me, but it's to live to where like I can be like flexible, you know, where it's like I'm not dependent. Like we don't have like a nice house, but we have like a solid house, you know what I mean? And we have decent cars, you know. I drive an old pickup truck that's like rough riding, but it's like reliable and it holds its value. So it's like, I'm gonna buy this one, you know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, everything's like, it's not like I consciously made this decision. It's just kind of fallen into place. It's just, I think it's a lot of personality too. Like some people need like financial security, you know. I don't have that. Like I don't feel that way. And especially in the freelance world, it's like you kind of can't because it's like, oh, like I made like 8K this week. It's like, yeah, but I don't have another job booked for like 6 weeks, you know? So it's like, people will be like, how much you charge for a shoot? And it's like, yeah, but it's like one every other, like so often, you know what I mean? So it's different, but yeah, I would say like, yeah, that's definitely how I've been able to like, I don't know, it's just my personality though, I think too, just to like, it's not, like that's the lifestyle like we want to live. It's like, and also being believers is just like being obedient. And it's like, I meet so many people too. It's like, I feel like we're supposed to do this, but I'm tied down to this, or I can't like deviate. And it's not that I'm not a committed person. It's like following things through, but just don't like, it's like, I don't know. It's just taking like different decisions. I don't know. It is really hard to explain. Like so, there's a lot of nuances to it.
I think one thing I heard recently, I think it was 2 weeks ago at church, he was saying some people are overcommitted to the wrong things. And so if you're committed to the right things, those things will take priority, and the wrong commitments, like, okay, for instance, maybe it's not a wrong spiritual commitment, but maybe a wrong commitment for where you want to go in life is a really nice car, right? You've made a commitment to that car. So now you can't go do that fun thing that you wanted to do. Fun thing being open a coffee shop or be a freelance videographer, because you have made a commitment to that, and that's holding you back.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's like that thing. It's like you say yes to something means you're saying no to something else.
Absolutely.
Like same principle, you know. Yeah, and I mean, it does just kind of boil down to like, you know, yeah, what do you like need in life? Like what's gonna fulfill you? Is it the new car? Probably not. You know what I mean? Like
it's cool for a time.
Yeah, I know, and I just recently got into like Simon Sinek, I think is how you say his name.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he wrote, I forget the books, it's like something about find your why. Or
Start with
like,
why.
Start with why, yeah. And that's like so good because it's like, yeah, you have to like find out why you're doing something, and then everything else just kind of falls into place, you know? I don't know, and that's kind of part of the journey too. It's like pursue like what you want to do. And then for me, it's like being obedient to what like God calls me to do. And that like, it's fluid, like in a lot of ways. Some people I think are like, they're going to do one thing their whole life and they're going to thrive in it, and like it's going to be provided for, and like that's what they're going to do. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think that's like the hard thing in creatives. It's like, well, so-and-so is like doing all these crazy things. You might not like, that might not be what you're supposed to do in life. You might be supposed to do like one thing, and that is completely fine. And I think if you like hone in on that, you'll actually feel like happy. You know what I mean? You'll have peace.
Yeah, focusing on the actual work, the craft of what you're doing, even if that is giving out loans, even if that is selling insurance, whatever it might be. If you're really good at that, there's fulfillment in that work.
Yeah, because I think that's one thing we've fallen short in like the church and like the marketplace side, especially, you know, business side. It's like people, like they uphold, like, and pastors should be upheld, you know, and stuff in ministry to a certain degree, but it's like, there's like the church body's made up by people that aren't on ministry, like staff, you know what I mean? So it's like teaching people like, hey, you can be like a nurse or stay-at-home mom, or you can be, you know, like you said, you can hand out loans like at a bank and like be just as important. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's just kind of like finding out, like you fall into it, I feel like, you know what I mean? But it takes a lot of trial and error. It doesn't, some people just like get like, I don't know, I get careful saying like lucky, because like Ansel Adams, if we're talking about creatives, he's like, he put it a good way. They're like, man, you're so lucky, like you got that photo. And he was like, no, I was prepared for luck.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to be prepared when the luck comes your way.
Yeah.
Luck will come and go, but you have to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Like rarely people just fall into it, you know?
So how are you prepared for luck? How did you prepare for luck?
If we want to get into like how we got into this space, it was like extremely lucky.
Okay.
But it was like just being like I got it through a video gig. Because
Okay.
God TV, the TV network, they actually, the people that run that, it's like their nonprofit they run, they own the building that I'm in downtown Pensacola.
Okay.
So they, like, I got asked to do a video, to work a video shoot through like some random connections and stuff. And I don't, like, that was how I got introduced to the family that like owns the building. And then they found out I was doing, I just get to like talking to people about like what I'm doing usually, or like stuff I'm trying to do. That's my personality. It's like, if you're familiar with like Giant, like coaching at all, they call it a connector.
Okay.
That's definitely like my personality.
Yeah.
You should check that out. It's pretty good. But anyway, I just got to talk about what I was doing, and then randomly, like the son of the guy that owns the place, he came to a market I was doing with the coffee cart.
So
that
you
we started
had,
with.
sorry to pull you back a little bit.
Yeah.
So you're working at the coffee shop, you're going to college, shooting weddings, getting into video production, and how do you go from working at the coffee shop to now you're running the coffee cart? Sorry to pull you back, but I wanted to kind of catch the whole story.
Yeah, I'd say like I was working at the coffee shop
Yeah.
and then started doing more video stuff. Started doing a lot of weddings.
Okay.
And it was good. I was having fun with it, all this kind of stuff. My wife I got married.
Yep.
Wife started helping me with like wedding stuff, like shooting, which was awesome. Didn't have to pay a second shooter. So that was great.
Oh, come on, you're paying a second shooter. You guys are working together.
I know, yeah, exactly. So, but then it got to the point where at the coffee shop, I was working there just for fun.
Okay.
You know, and it was just, because it's just like fast paced, it's a fun environment.
Talking to
Had a
people.
great boss.
Yeah.
You know, it was just cool. Wasn't making a bunch, but it was worth it.
Okay.
You know, it got to where I was working like 6 in the morning till 11, or no, 6 to noon, and then 6 to 11, and then 6 to 10, and then 6 to 9, and then I was like, and then like 5:30 to 9, and it was just like, this isn't even like worth it anymore. Like it was like fun. I'd work like the busiest time, and then like I'd leave.
Okay.
So I didn't have to like do any like prep work or nothing. It was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and so. But I was just like, I can't do this because I'm having to ask off quite a bit. I'm starting to travel, doing video stuff, going overseas, doing mission work some, starting to travel, like filming orthodontist and random stuff for another marketing agency, shooting weddings out of town. So it was just kind of like, I can't do this. It wasn't sustainable. But I always loved coffee, but I never saw myself like owning a coffee shop.
Okay.
And then, so the more and more like, started doing video, transition out of weddings, started doing more commercial stuff, finding a lot of fulfillment in that, and then started getting more into like the branding side of like building a brand, you know, like on the video production side.
Okay.
Started to just feel like maybe I should like pursue like branding this a little bit better, or like you know, like starting a company, but then I never had the desire to like bring on staff. So it's like the business would only get so big.
Okay.
It was just me.
So you got to a place where you knew how much you wanted to be committed to something. And you liked video enough to do the video, but to think about creating this whole agency just wasn't interesting to you in the video domain.
Yeah.
Because now we're here at Maker and you got employees.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
the video to me, I don't know, it just never clicked.
Okay.
Like, hey, I want to do this, like, and like have a team and build them. It just never like came up, which I'm kind of glad, because like I would be fully committed to that at this point.
No doubt.
It's all panned out, but yeah, I don't know. I think I just like, if I was going like on paper, that would have made more sense.
Absolutely.
Might have probably like more lucrative, honestly. but it just wasn't what I wanted to do. Like I would have been like miserable, like just doing that.
So again, you're chasing that. What am I supposed to do? Not what is the most profitable or what should I do?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
Okay.
You know,
but still thinking about profit, still thinking about making enough money to sustain.
That's the practical side of it,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, but if you're doing it, it's like I'm not made to be like an attorney. You know,
Yeah.
that's just not me.
Yeah.
Could I do it? Sure, you can do anything. It just wasn't what I'm like supposed to do.
Okay.
And so, but I could make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
But it's not why I'm going to do it. And so, or it's not enough for me to like want to do it, basically. But yeah, like I don't know, like traveling though too, just doing the video stuff. My wife and I just like anytime you go to a new city, like the first thing you do is look up a coffee shop.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
So that was like kind of like fun for us to be like, man, like let's go like get coffee and you know, like you check out like that like introduces you to a city. Like that's like the first thing that like sets you off on like this is a good experience.
That's a good point.
Like if you have a bad like really bad coffee shop experience, like it just kind of like, man, like usually people are like, well, let's try somewhere else. But if you cannot find one cool place, you're like, man, this city's like it's cool, like it's got a few good things, but especially in Pensacola, it's like kind of a small city, so it's like if you're in a bigger city, way more odds, like it's fine, it's a big city, like you just probably went to every bad spot by chance, you know what I mean? But it's like here, it's like you only got a few chances, you know what I mean? And so, but anyway, we just like always enjoyed that aspect. We're like, yeah, like maybe a coffee shop like could be fun. It was just kind of like a maybe like thing.
Okay.
And then I don't know, it was like we just kind of felt like maybe that was something we should start like pursuing. And it's weird. I don't even remember when it was like, there wasn't like a big aha moment, like it clicked, like start pursuing coffee or something, you know, it just kind of, it was like that slow process of just like daily obedience. Like for me, you know, like the just, I don't know, just doing what we're supposed to be doing. We helped launch a church, you know, in the midst of just like life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think just one thing just leads to another, and then like then we have like this big foundation that's led to like what is us starting like the coffee shop, you know, of just like things I've learned throughout the years working with like a company, an agency that's like getting started off the ground, helping a church like get launched, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Learning the nuances of working with people, like but through other people's like good things and mistakes.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like getting to observe a lot. You know, I feel like that is like the big part of like growing up is just observing. Hopefully.
So lifting your eyes up, absorbing what's happening around you,
Yeah.
and cataloging the intricacies of life and business.
Yeah, and it's like the analogy, like you eat a piece of fit, like you keep the meat and spit out the bones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that is just like life in general, and then like continuing to grow in that too for sure. But yeah, like we decided it was like, hey, let's pursue this coffee thing, and I like we just felt like that was something we should do, and then that was late 2018, got the branding done. Early 2019, felt like God said like put this on pause, don't kill it, just it's put it on pause. And I was like, man, I stopped taking like video weddings, so I was like, this is weird. Like I thought that was like leading us up for this, but we were meeting with banks, talking to people, like just nothing was like opening up. And then it was like, all right, put this on pause. 2 weeks later, found out we were pregnant with our first kid. And then I was like, okay, like this feels good. Started pursuing video stuff, like more so again. Actually got like my own personal brand like done, video, like with Andrew Wiseman.
Yeah.
And then just like started kind of pursuing the business side, but it was still solo, you know. But I realized I could like utilize other people to like do more things. Like I didn't need to like be hands-on, shooting, editing, everything. You know
So
what I
you
mean?
started to get a little bit of that business hiring out, but it was more like hiring contractors to kind of surround you to support you.
Yeah, contract work. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like bringing people in, which I think is translated really well now, but of like trying to lift others up instead of it being like just come and work for me, like build my kingdom kind of thing, you know. But yeah, like it was cool. The timing worked out because fast forward a year from early 2019, we have COVID. Who knows what would have happened?
Wow.
Being in a lease, like, you know,
Yeah.
so many unknowns. Would have been like we would have figured something out, I think, but it's like who knows, you know?
Yeah.
We don't have an investor to like float us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could have been pretty wild. But yeah, so then started pursuing video. That picked up, but then it was like in early 2020, or no, late 2020, felt like, hey, let's start, like the coffee thing kind of got brought back up, just in our minds and things like that, and started pursuing that, and then just decided to, I don't know, we like the coffee cart thing kind of popped up like on Instagram, like seeing people do this, and there was a shop in Mobile that had a cart, and I was like, this looks cool, like maybe we could do this and see what happens, so we made it up in our mind, like, all right, let's set aside like 10 grand, which we didn't have a ton of savings, but it was like pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
And it was like, if we lose it all, like, we tried, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? We were okay with losing it, that, I think that's a big thing too. It's just like money. I mean, different people have different things, and I'm glad certain people have certain strengths, like mine isn't like save, that's just not like my personality. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying that's good or bad. Like, that's not for everyone.
You see
it's
money as a
kinda
tool
bad
to execute on the things that you're interested in.
most of the time. And I mean, it's like money just comes and goes so much. It's like, and you hear that, but it's like, it's hard to live that way too.
Yeah.
And so there is like the practicality of being responsible, saving so that you can do more. Like, there's a balance to all this. Still learning, so many people have different opinions, but it's just like things that you're supposed to be doing, like it'll be provided for, like, too, and the freelance life is like money comes and goes like all the time. So I was kind of used to it.
Okay.
But anyway, I actually got it was the largest project I ever got video wise. That helped fund the coffee shop.
Okay.
And never made that much on the video project. So it's just like, okay, like to where I could profit that much. So it was just like the timing was like perfect, So like, yeah, we started the cart March of 21, and then still like not really sure what this timeline is going to look like leading into a shop. Like, less than 2 months later, meet my landlord and did a market. The landlord's kid came into the market, was like, this is really cool. You should host a market in our shop. I was like, okay, sure. And then hosted a market in here on a Sunday. Got like 5 other vendors in here. And inside, it was just like an empty shell. And so did the market. Went really well. He was like, hey, if you ever want to set up on like a Saturday morning to see how you do on the street side, like, you're welcome to like use the space. I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
That's like, and then just kind of started doing that. Like, hey, you can come back next week if you want to try it again. I was like, okay,
So just taking each opportunity as it came.
Yeah,
Building
basically.
relationships.
Yeah, the whole point of the cart at first wasn't to make money. It was like strictly branding, getting the name out there, letting people try like what we could do. And I like grew up in the community, so I had a decent little following like already.
Yeah.
Like, our first day was like that we did the market, like the first market we ever did. It was like a huge success.
Cool.
I was like, if I could make like $300-500, I'll be stoked. You
Yeah.
know, we did like 1,400 in sales.
That's
on
great.
a little cart, that's a lot of
Yeah.
coffee.
It's
We
a-
were
it's a
pumping out
lot.
stuff. We were selling merch and different things like that, and but yeah, it was like strictly branding.
Cool.
And so
So this was to see how sustainable this idea is.
yeah, and just to see like the draw on it. I don't think doing a cart now, like, what are we, January 23? I don't think it would. I was telling somebody today, I don't know how good it would do.
So
Just-
because you're coming off of
COVID.
and then all of a sudden you're introducing something that's outside, kind of novel. People are kind of getting into the idea of like going into shops again.
Yep.
It popped off.
It was like the first time like people felt like we're at a big like shopping event.
Okay.
March of 21, the first stimulus check hit that week.
Yeah.
So that is like something I would consider was like lucky, but at the same time we were ready.
You were ready.
You know,
It wasn't luck.
we were prepared for that.
Yeah.
So it's just good timing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, which that's just like life. You know what I mean? It's like it's just gonna happen that it's gonna unfold that way. So, but I don't know. It was like, but I definitely think like we were ready to like take on that and then like see the potential of like the growth and just kind of be willing and ready to like make coffee like for random events, do like random church events, do like a Christian concert. I only made like a few hundred, well, maybe like 200 drinks like the whole time,
Yeah.
if that. But like a couple thousand people walked by the cart. That was what I was excited about. Like they saw the brand and like, oh, what is this? Do you have a shop? And it's like, well, no, hopefully, maybe soon. Follow us on Instagram.
Yeah.
kind of thing. So we gained like a ton of traction like that way. That was kind of the goal anyway. So yeah, like fast forward, landlord's like, hey, like there's another space like a couple doors down, like ice cream shop. Would you want to? They're moving out. Would you want to take it over? And we're like, yeah, sure. Let's talk about it. That took forever. It kind of got drug out. They didn't move out because their new space wasn't ready. There was just a lot of like logistics that didn't pan out. And they're like, well, hey, like this space is empty. It's not set up for a coffee shop, but if you think you could do it, space is yours. And I was like, okay, So we just kind of like sat around, like waited. We never heard like what rent would be. It was a lot of like just kind of very informal, which is kind of nice, but also like not nice. Like when you need to like get down to like
okay,
the details.
What are we gonna do here?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, let's do it. Then it's like rent's $10K a month. I'm like, oh no, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So like we ended up getting all that like sorted, and then I don't know, it was like crazy. Like definitely just like God providing. Like we met this couple that is only here for about a year and a half in the Coast Guard. She's an interior designer from LA. They opened and designed a coffee shop in Nashville like a year or two prior to moving here, like him going in the Coast Guard. And she wanted to help us out and like hooked us up and was like, hey, I want to like help you come up with, if you want it, like I'd be down to help you like do this build out.
Where did you meet her?
At the cart, at like a random event.
So again, the small investment, getting in front of people, basically doing the birthday party, right? In essence, like doing the small, doing the small stuff, doing the stuff that doesn't look amazingly extravagant, right? But it puts you in front of the people that eventually got you where you are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like not like losing money sometimes, but not like making a living off of it. It's just like, getting it out there, just putting yourself out there to like be able to meet somebody. That's all it is. And like, especially in the creative world, it's all like who you know.
Yeah, it really is.
It's like, you don't have to be the best. You just have to be willing to show up on time, deliver a product on time, and just be able to do it. You know what I mean?
So as you're doing the cart, what are you doing on the side?
Yeah, still doing video. So cart turned into a Saturday only thing.
Okay, because you couldn't do it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it makes sense. Like the cart, there was another guy in town that started like a truck thing, and it was like super cool and like a good idea. It's just like people weren't doing pop-ups like Monday through Friday. You know what I mean?
So it was the hype of the weekend, the fun thing to go do on a Saturday.
For a pop-up, field. It wasn't like the full time, you could do this, make a living. You could kind of do it, but it was tough, know? So it was just like super random. But like, that's why I like, again, slightly just fortunate, but it was just kind of like what we had to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's like, I think just like God, like guiding our steps and like allowing certain things to happen, certain things not like, just opening up certain doors, and it's like, hey, this is the path you need to like do. Yeah. Things just roll it out a certain way for us. But I was still doing video, still am actually. Okay. Like now it's to the point where we have a few staff to where I don't like always have to be here like all day or something. So it's like I can break away and like do a shoot. I'm only working with like 3 or 4 clients. I kept like 3 or 4.
But they give you consistent work.
Yep.
So you can support basically your family and then reinvest in the business.
Yeah, I live off the video stuff. So,
okay.
But it's like because I don't have a ton of overhead, personally. I have a house payment. Yeah. Like that's pretty normal. Yeah. I have 1 car payment. It's a used car, but it's a car payment. Needed a minivan. We got 2 kids.
Let's go.
Let's
go.
It was a sad day.
Oh, man. You gotta own it.
I wanted a like something, not a minivan.
Not a minivan.
But it's very practical.
It is.
So started like, but I was doing like, it was a hustle for sure. Yeah. And I will say too, if you're married, like it's definitely a couples, like both have to be invested on it.
Amen.
And you probably know that too. Like, hey, I'm gonna leave my full-time job with benefits to do YouTube. Babe. Yeah. What? You know what I mean? Like it could be that way, or it could be celebrated. And like, hey, let's do this together, because it is a together thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I would say like that's a big thing. And like if both aren't on board, it's gonna be very draining, very toxic. At least whenever there's like a bad time, you're both like in it, or like the other one's like, hey, like this is what we're supposed to do, so suck it up, or hey, like that wasn't like handled the best, like let's figure it out, you know. And there's been a lot of like growing stuff we've had to do for sure, like since having the business. There's like just trying to structure our lives a little bit better, living by a calendar, making time for family, like important, you know. And that is like a sacrifice right now because we don't have a full staff. Like we're slowly growing it, but we're only 2 months old.
Man, I can't believe it's been only that long.
I know.
That's
So
awesome.
it's like we're trying to figure out where it's like, hey, like family is a priority. You know, it's like she even told me because we're gonna extend our hours. She's like, hey, like you have to like come home early certain days. You know, can't be up here till 6 o'clock every day. You know, which I don't want to be, but it's just like she's wise enough to say that. You know.
I find that interesting because my wife is very much the same way. My wife is very much, hey, we are life together. Your business is awesome. I'm proud of you. I support it. But because you own a business, the whole point and benefit of that is the freedom. So let's work on that. What are your thoughts on the grind versus the balance?
It's pretty hard some days because you're like, man, I'm like not a good dad or like not being a good husband. It's so like fresh, like 2 months in, you're like, man, like it's just hard when like 2 little kids, like they're only gonna be little like so long,
Yeah.
so it's like hard to like figure that out. And then like it's hard to, it is a busy time. It's like because we launched March 21, got pregnant again, kind of unexpectedly, not a bad thing, it just happens.
Yeah.
And so we already had a 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old, and so yeah, like December 20, what was the year, 21? Yeah, December 21 we had our second. So then it's like we're about to start like we're like working on getting our plans developed for like this coffee shop,
Oh,
you
my
know,
word.
running
And-
the pop-up and
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff, you know, kind of wild. So yeah, we're like, I don't know, so it was definitely like a lot, but I'm glad the coffee shop didn't open sooner. Like I kept thinking I was only like, this build out's gonna only take like 3-4, like we'll be in 3-4 months. Year and a half
It
later.
took a year and a half.
Yeah, just
Wow.
about. I mean, we launched March 21. We started setting up the pop-up out front of the store we're in now, June or July 21, and then we moved in November. We opened the doors November 22,
Man.
November 12th, 2022.
Whoa.
So, but you know, it took like we didn't think we were gonna have to get plans at first, and then it turned in we do, and then that took like over a month and a half just to get plans drawn up, and it cost a lot more than what I was hoping. You know what I mean? Like
Always.
it's just like, ugh, you know. And then it took like 6 months to build out, but it was me and my dad, you know. But it was just like I'm so fortunate, like me and him could do it. One, it was like really fun. 2, it saved a ton of money.
Yeah.
Cost a third of the cost of it would have if we would have done it.
That's
like
awesome.
working with construction companies and all this stuff. Luckily, he could pull the permits and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Kid the inside man.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess like back to your point of like the balance of like, how'd you say, like grind and I guess the balance.
Yeah, I would say the idea, I mean, we so much are infiltrated as business owners in this hustle culture. You know, it's what we see in our feed all day on Instagram. Like everybody's working from 4 a.m. to 10 p.m., right? Or so it seems. So how do you put up your blockers, so to speak, to say, hey, that's not the life I'm interested in. I
Yeah.
have different priorities. I have different goals.
Yeah, I'd say it's like building. You have to. I think it's like, and I'm still learning this, but luckily we're in the infant like stage. But it's like building systems and like building people up to like where it's not like reliant on me. And my personality, like the tendency I have is to like take care of things like for others. I don't want people to feel like inconvenienced. So it's hard for me to ask somebody to do something. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I'll just handle it. You know, it doesn't come from a place like I don't think they could do it. They probably actually could do it better, like certain things. I just feel bad asking. You
Gotcha.
know, that's just like a natural tendency I have that isn't good. You know, like I mean, it sounds like good in some ways, but I need to be like challenging people, but also like supporting them and doing it. So that's like that support challenge matrix. Because if you're like all challenge, no support, that's like very dominating like culture. You know,
Yeah.
but if you're low challenge, low support, I think it's called like an abdicate. I don't know, but basically you're like nobody's growing in that environment, and then it just creates a lot of tension. I get bitter, you know, because like certain people are doing things. But yeah, I'd say like the biggest thing to help with that grind, like hustle, like culture is like implementing systems, not having to like be in every moment. And I think going back to what you're saying, like finding your why, and if like that's my focus, like my purpose is to like, love God, take care of my family, and then everything else. You know what I mean? So figuring out, like letting it trickle down in like that order, is like, I think that's how you get like past like I have to grind.
Okay.
You know what I mean? There are seasons of grinding though. So I think that's what people don't like. I think it's hard. I think everybody like knows that, but they don't like really know it, or they don't know how to do it.
How long does the season last? How long is
hard.
it supposed to last?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think it's different, but I think like being on the same page, like with your spouse and with your team, it doesn't. You don't have to be married, or, like have a business. You know what I mean? But whoever like you're partnering up with in life or with business, being on the same page, being honest, about like what you like, what problems you're having. You know what I mean? That's one thing I'm trying to focus on. It's like, if I'm not like feeling great about how things are going, like vocalizing that, but not from a place of like fear. It's like, hey, like, can we all like collaborate on this and make it better? So it doesn't all fall on my shoulders. So I think that's what's hard with like entrepreneurs, maybe specifically creators, like it's because it's so solo. It's like everything does fall on your shoulders. So that's like what's fun about working with others is like you get to like share the load. You know what I mean? And instead of it all like falling on your shoulders and feeling I have, like, if I don't do this, no one else will. That's like a scary place to be in. I feel like
it relies on trust in your team. So
yeah.
Making your team wisely is utmost importance.
Yeah, and it builds distrust if like I never enable them to do something. I'm always like, I'll do it. If I do it from a good place, like I don't realize how they're receiving it isn't always healthy.
So you could think you're being helpful, but you're actually making them feel like they're not capable.
Yeah, and I could be a good communicator. I could say things eloquent, not that I do. I'm just like somebody that is an eloquent speaker. They might not be a good communicator because you're only as good at speaking as like they can hear it or they receive it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I think just like trying to build like a good culture, having people around you, having your why figured out, that's like how you can get rid of that grind of just feeling like heavy. Like I feel like whenever you're like healthy and you're grinding, like it's fun, can be. Yeah. They can be like, man, I don't want to do this, but like it's getting me to the next point, And so it's like finding that balance. Another cool thing with the Giant that talks about like the coach leadership stuff is like they have like a 70-30 rule. So like 70% of the time you should be doing stuff that's like life-giving. 30% should be like the stuff that, like that should be your balance. Wow. Like if you're looking for a number, like 80-20 isn't realistic. Like that's pretty good, but like it's not always realistic. 100 and 0, like 100 of like only what you want to do and nothing of what you don't want to do.
Very rare.
Not realistic.
No.
90-10 is really hard. 70-30 is like that. I think they figured out that's like that balance. But if you're like flip-flopped, which at one point I was doing stuff I didn't want to do, especially in the video stuff, like didn't want to do editing, didn't want to like, I got to the point where I wasn't really wanting to do like shoots too much,
Is it because you took on too much responsibility for the everything?
Yeah, I think I was just like trying to like coffee became like what I wanted to do, so it's like the video stuff just wasn't as like fun anymore, you know what I mean? Like, and like even on the coffee side, I was like doing like construction and like
there's so much variety.
It was so much stuff, It wasn't like meeting, like hanging out with people. It was like figuring out like leases and that's like not fun to me.
Okay.
I don't like figuring out like a financial plan.
No.
Like
it's not creative work.
No, it's not fun at all.
So how did you get through the times when the passion subsided? Right, the passion went away. How did you keep moving forward?
Well, being on the same page with my wife, like for one, and just having like that drive of like, I don't think I necessarily like ever doubted it would happen, and I always felt like there was like we were gonna get through it, But that's just like a personality thing too. I mean, and I don't know. I think it was just like, yeah, I knew like the good that was gonna hopefully come. But I also think too, it's just because I knew it was like what God called me to do. So I had faith, like that was like the leap of faith, I guess.
Okay.
Like this does not seem like right. You know what I mean? Like, and from a lot of different perspectives, but also it's like this is what we're supposed to do, and like it's not gonna call me to something that's not gonna like not what I'm supposed to do. Even if it fails, like I'm like complete like if this all like flopped tomorrow, no regrets at all, you know. So like I think having that perspective, like this is what I'm supposed to do like today, you know what I mean, like, and if it all changes tomorrow, like being okay with that.
So even if today doesn't necessarily feel good, it's where I'm at, it's what I'm supposed to be doing, so pull up my boots and keep putting in the work on it.
And this is the first time in life I felt like where I'm in something for a long period of time.
Okay.
You know, like this feels like a marriage, like commitment.
So this is a long season.
It feels like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I also am already like starting to think about like other things we can do. But that in order to do that, I'm even realizing more like I have to like create systems and a team. Because if I don't, like I can't focus on other things. Like I don't think like my sole purpose is to like work behind the bar every single day. You know? I think I'm supposed to own a coffee shop, but it's like also like creating community. And then like that is more that I'm finding out that's more what I'm passionate about is like community, not a coffee shop.
And isn't that where the creative work comes in? More so?
For
you?
I mean, maybe it's just like I think it's just more of a personality type.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I don't really know. It's like video, like there's so many people that are so much better at video than me. Like I feel like that's like what they were made to do.
Yeah.
Mine was just like an avenue, you know, and like even coffee, like there's people in town that like I don't feel like I even know like a ton about coffee. I just like love bringing people together.
Gotcha.
That's what I like love more so.
So
the coffee, but I do care that like things are done like quality for sure. Like the type of quality we use, like or the type of coffee we use, the type of ingredients we have, like all very important. But that is like I don't know. It's just kind of part of that. That I think even that comes from just like wanting people to like feel good, you know, like when they come in here and have a good experience. That's why we use like certain milk, you know what I mean, like, and we use like certain like quality syrups. We're not like I wouldn't want to drink this or eat certain things. You go to a coffee shop, they're just like using. Like I'll have it, but it's not like I'm like stoked to like consume this in my body. You know what I mean? So, but I think all that stems from, which I'm glad it like. You know, like, because if making coffee was like my end game, I don't think this would be fun. You know what I mean? Like, because there's only so much you can do, like in Pensacola specifically.
Okay.
So I think it depends on the market. Like some people, it's like they're growing and like learning about like the science of coffee and like trying all these new coffees. You know what I mean? That's like they want to do. And even like on the video side, it's like I want to make like a movie. You know, and maybe it's Interstellar, you know what I mean? Like, maybe if that was like your goal is to make a movie that like people get that feeling, once you do it, like then what? You know what I mean? Like when that's done, which it's so done, like very quickly. It's only like you're in the theaters like a month, maybe 2, and then it's like people kind of forget about it. You know what I mean?
So for you, it's the process throughout life of bringing people together in different situations and creating new experiences.
Yeah, and coffee shops are so fun because they're like a modern day well for people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like everybody comes, or like they want to come and like talk about anything. Some people talk about too much. You know, it's kind of funny. Like people unload their life on you, like in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the beauty of it too. You know, so it's not a bad thing. I don't know. Yeah, I think like the community aspect is definitely like the driving force more so than just like making good coffee. There's tons of good coffee in the world, you know.
How can you create a good experience here?
That's like people are gonna, because it's like that whole thing, like people won't remember what you say or what you did, remember how you make them feel.
Yeah.
You know, that whole analogy, so true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like you could go in somewhere and have the best cup of coffee, but have the worst experience because like the barista was rude. You know, or just like
we've all been
something
there.
rough. Yeah, they're like, oh no, like we don't do things that way. Or you can go somewhere and have like a good cup of coffee. You know, it might not be like the most insanely like made or like all this crazy stuff, but just the overall atmosphere. Like people are gonna gravitate towards that more so than like the best drink in town. You know what I mean?
The drink always tastes better if it's a good experience.
Oh, 100%. Like, it just doesn't matter. I don't think it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, man, I just like want to be in here. Yeah. I've heard that a lot. Like people coming in, they're like, man, I just like being in here. It's just like a cool spot, you know? That's like encouraging to me. And then like when people say like, man, the coffee's really good, like that's encouraging too. But it's like I get most excited when people are like, I just love being like in here. Like that's like more appealing to me than like that's the best coffee I've ever had. You know, that is like fun. You know, I like when they say that, but it's not. That's not who I am. You know, we don't even roast our own coffee. You know, if like coffee was like who I am, I'd probably roast my own stuff. Be like, hey, I want you to try like what I made. You know what I mean? We're just trying to cultivate an experience, more so.
Gotcha.
So, and we want to be a place for growth, like even with our team. Like I'm always like asking people. I think reason I get people talk to me like, hey, I want to do a fun like side project, and I hate what I'm doing, is because like I just love talking about that kind of stuff. You know, like, hey, how can like I help connect you with so and so to like, hey, if you want to do that, you should talk to this person. You know, I love doing that kind of stuff. And a coffee shop's like perfect place to do that.
You've created your own networking party.
Exactly. You know, and so I do like really enjoy that, and like part of what we want to do like with our team, like because coffee is like a transitional job for a lot of people. It's not
that's true.
You know, and that's not a bad thing. You know, some people like make a career in it. It's just harder, you know, to like have a family and like be like, yeah, I make $100K. Like that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know, most likely. But like one thing we really want to do is like help people like do what they want to do.
So you do look at it as a transitional thing, but you want to take them on a transition towards where they ultimately want to go, not just maybe stumble into something else. You want them to stumble upwards into something that they love.
Yeah, I ask people too, like even in the onboarding, like, hey, like, what do you like what would be your dream job? You know, and like you don't have to say coffee shop. You know,
don't say coffee.
Yeah, like if you could be doing one thing, like what would it be, or like what are you looking to like do something else? Like it's okay. Like I don't want people to feel like bad if they don't have like a goal. Like I never had a 5 or 10 year goal.
Yeah,
you know. So I'm not even saying that, but a lot of people do kind of be like, you know, like one girl that started, like she wants to get in the photo, and I'm like, say no more. You know, it's like
we got you covered.
Like this one's gonna be like this is easy.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I'm always like trying to give her opportunities to like grow in that. Like I want to do that like for people.
So then you'll say, okay, you know, this week you shoot the photos in the shop, or there's somebody that needs a headshots, or
I feel like that. I'm not saying it's like we're great at it, you know, like it's something to work on always, but I feel like in a lot of work environments, they're always trying to think like, how can you better like our company, which I want to do that, but I think like, I'm not like trying to get people to move on necessarily, but I am trying to get people to grow.
Yeah.
And there's only so much growth that can like happen within these 4 walls. So it's like, how do we like give them more tools? Cause like if they're growing, they're just going to make the environment that much better. Like if you have a healthy like culture of growth, which is hard to do in a coffee shop, because it's like unless you're like expanding and doing multiple locations, then you hire managers, but that's just not like what we're doing right now.
Well, because like you said, you're more interested in what they're interested in, and it will naturally benefit you. It's not like, hey, I need a manager. Are you excited about management?
Mm-hmm.
You know, most people wouldn't say they're excited about
for a coffee shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they might want to manage something else.
Yeah,
you know. But yeah, like even the girl that wants to do photo, like we had a company reach out wanting to do a video shoot in here. It was cool because the girl that wants to do the photo stuff, like an opportunity came up, a production company hit us up, was like, hey, we'd love to film in your space. It's on a Sunday. Could we do that? And I was like, man, I don't want to be like, I can't be there. It's like my one day for sure off, so I didn't want to commit to like doing anything like work wise.
Yeah.
And but I was like, you know what, like this actually is a good opportunity for her, because she's been wanting to like go on set and like just observe. So I just asked her, I actually paid her to be here, you know, and open the door up, and she got to observe this video shoot and was like super stoked. Then now she's talking to me. She's like, yeah, I'm buying a, like she's been on the like fence about buying a camera. She's like, I'm doing it, you know. Cool. And she kind of saw what she didn't want to do too in the video world. She's like, I didn't like all of that, but she like loved the making of it, you know. But she was like, I don't want to be like any of those roles. You know what I mean?
She saw each person and what they did, and you're like, what did he do? Because that was
it helped her like hone in, I think. And this is also fresh, but like just the brief conversation helped her kind of hone in a little bit. Like, yeah, like I think I mean, hopefully it's like helping her grasp like what she wants to do, and she's still figuring it out. She's, you know, she's young, creative. Like she has a very creative type like personality.
Okay.
Which is like cool. Very different from me though. even though I'm like in the creative space, it's not like I'm not like a natural creative. I would feel like, like some people just like create with everything that they have. I feel like I have like aesthetics, that I'm like can pick up on. I can place things like well, hopefully.
I've said the same thing about myself. I'm more systems and analytical type of person than I am creative. My wife is a better artist than me, and she's technically a nurse by education, and she could sketch circles around me.
Yeah, exactly. I know, because it's funny, like most creatives, like a lot of creatives aren't extremely disciplined like out the gate. I feel like you kind of had like a flip-flop, like very disciplined, but then it was like the creative was like what you wanted to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've had to refine that to get to where I wanted to go, because creative is a part of kind of the current work ecosystem. You have to have creative work to get into the areas that we are interested in. I want to make content. I love talking to people, I love hearing their stories. And without good creative, nobody's going to want to click on that story or step into that story.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I know. Yeah, and it's cool because you already have like a systematic like mindset behind you, and like creative should glean from that, because it's like usually it's flip-flopped, like we were saying, because it's like creatives can get like they can get the jobs quicker than maybe you could out the gate, but then it's like down the road, but mature businesses are going to be like, I'm going with the guy with the process who's going to get me this when he says he's going to.
Absolutely.
Because creatives are so flimsy,
Yeah, they can be.
That's kind of the nice thing about them, though. It's like they're unpredictable, but then like they come up with amazing stuff because nobody's thought of it.
Absolutely.
That's like the flight risk.
Yeah,
but if you find a creative who is like timely, like that's like the most appealing, most rare thing, I feel like. But I think people now are realizing, because the creative, like, it's so competitive, especially in the video realm and like tech world, like in general, because there's so much of it.
Yeah.
It's really just like who can do the whole thing better now. It's not so much about like coming up with the best stuff, because like even on Instagram, it's more so about like knowing it's having the knowledge of what people are doing and interacting, not with just like, oh, this looks cool.
Yeah.
Because it's like nobody cares anymore.
There's
how
so
it looks.
Much creative.
Think about like Mr. Beast, like his videos aren't like the best looking, like they're not cinematic at all.
They're just super
They're actually in 30 frames. It's like they're not even like shot at like cinematic frame rate.
Yeah.
But it's like he's learned how to like grasp people's attention.
Absolutely.
That is like what people are doing. He has a creative like side to him, but I also think he's just so intrinsic. You know what I mean? Like how he got started and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it's just like being a good storyteller, and that, I don't know. It's like, I think learning that's where the disciplines come in, is like learning your craft. It's like you're only going to be like that fun, like completely naive, like creative person probably a few times in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everything else is based on process and systems.
Yeah,
and studying.
I feel like you get more freedom in the process too.
I would agree.
Which is like, which is where like there's a reason these big corporations have systems, because it actually creates freedom.
Yeah.
It seems constraining, but it's actually like, no, it's just like better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then you can actually think freely, because you build a good habit of like doing something a certain way, and then when the other things come up, you don't even have to worry about it. It's just like second nature.
Yeah. When you build systems in a schedule, then you free your mind to not worry if things are going to get done, because they're already done in your system. And then you've cleared this time away from all distraction, then do something great. Which
is the same thing of like building a team like underneath, around you. Not even say underneath you is kind of derogatory, but like around you to like support each other. Then you can all thrive in what you're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
So
I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.